The Turkish court has unanimously ruled that the iconic monument, the Hagia Sophia, can be turned into a mosque again. Now, with this decision, the museum status of the monument stands null and void. This is a massive update, not just for Turkey, but for all over the world. In fact, now we are joined by Onur Erim, who's a political analyst and president of Dragoman Strategies. He's joining us live from Istanbul. But this is a massive news update. A Turkish court has designated that Hagia Sophia can be turned back into a mosque. Now remember, Turkey had faced massive opposition from all across the world. UNESCO, UN's cultural agency, had warned Turkey against converting the Byzantine-era Hagia Sophia Museum in Istanbul into a mosque. So this was a clear warning coming in from a UN body, but a Turkish court has gone ahead and said that this monument can be turned back into a mosque. Now, Hagia Sophia has served as a mosque, as a museum and as a church over centuries. Now, this monument was built centuries ago by the Byzantine Empire that was initially in a place called Constantinople, but a few decades earlier, Turkey had decided that it will serve as a museum. Today, however, the Turkish court has overturned that decision and Hagia Sophia has been reconverted into a mosque now. And like I mentioned, we have Onur Erim joining us live from Turkey now. He's a political analyst. Now, Onur, was this judgment expected? Now, many across the world believe that this judgment was almost final, even before today's hearing. But, Turkey has faced opposition from the world over. Even the UN body like UNESCO had asked Turkey to take any actions. But what's the response within Turkey? We know the President Erdogan had been pushing for this move.
Well, first of all, UNESCO did not actually warn Turkey. It just, it didn't warn not to open for service, for Muslim prayer service. It has warned that because of Hagia Sophia's status under UNESCO, is a personal ownership. Is under a personal ownership of Fatih Sultan Mehmet the Conqueror, and he's the one that turned this place after conquering Istanbul in 1453 into a mosque. It's his personal property, and in his will, he has specifically asked that he puts this trust under the foundation of Hagia Sophia or the Ariel Fatih Foundation, that it must be used as a mosque till the end of times. So the 1934 decision was in fact against a person's, on the will of a person, Fatih Sultan Mehmet the Conqueror, against his will. So right now what has happened is a correction was made, but it took 86 years, unfortunately. And let me also correct one other thing.
Right.
The Hagia Sophia was never, as a zoning, was turned into a museum. It has, even since 1934, has been zoned as a mosque. The only thing that was changed in 1934 decision,
right,
the prayer was blocked, and it was being served as a museum. The fact that it has been a mosque has not changed since May the 29th, 1453.
Right. So let me just read out a UNESCO statement for you, and I'll just read it out from the laptop here. We urge the Turkish authorities, this is what the UN says, UNESCO says, we urge Turkish authorities to start a dialogue before any decision is taken that could undermine the universal value of the site. So my question to you is, will this decision undermine the universal value of the Hagia Sophia? And secondly, this monument was constructed by the Byzantine Empire centuries ago. It was certainly conquered by the Turkish Empire, and then now this decision has come. What's the reason behind this decision? And secondly, Turkey is also facing opposition from neighbors like Greece and even Russia, who has come forward and asked Turkey not to take this decision. So what will be the next step of Erdogan?
It is really hard to tell. What I would expect, or what I think to be many of the Turks and many of the Muslims even around the world would expect, is that the Hagia Sophia Mosque is open for prayer. Now, I understand the oppositions, but we don't see the same anything near that opposition when in regards to Cordoba Cathedral in Spain. We don't hear the same opposition in many number of churches that were overturned from a mosque, being a mosque in Greece and in most of Balkans, for that matter. Yes, it is a very important architecture of the Byzantine Empire that was erected just over 1600 years ago, but it has more of a value in world civilization history since it became a mosque. This place did not become a mosque 100 years ago. It became a mosque 600 years ago. It is the depiction of Fatih's conquest of Istanbul, which actually closed an era in the world history, in the human history, and opened up a new one. So yes, it is a significant structure of the Byzantine Empire. However, I believe it holds more of a value since 1453 as a depiction of conquest of Istanbul, which closed an era and opened up a new era in the civilization of humankind.
Right. So the last 600 years, Hagia Sophia has been, like you mentioned, under Turkish, command. But for 1,000 years before that, Christians world over agree that for 1,000 years before that, it served as a centerpiece for Christendom and as the center of the Byzantine Empire earlier. Now, I'll just read out a statement by the Russian Orthodox Church. Now, he says, the Patriarch of the Church says, a threat to Hagia Sophia is a threat to the whole Christian civilization and therefore to our spirituality and history. Now, you can't deny that this monument is a central structure not only for the Muslim community but also for the Christian community. I mean, they also have deep connections to this monument.
Sure. And under the Turkish rule for the last 600 years, neither the Ottoman Empire officials nor the officials of the Turkish state has never done anything to reconstruct the remains of the Byzantine structure. The Byzantine artifacts, the murals, and everything else has been well preserved. In division when the Cordoba mosque was turned into a cathedral, it didn't create any confusion when the Greek government.
No, but how can you use a historical example in today's day and age? Don't you think we have moved ahead from those times?
I do, but what you have to understand is people are acting as if Hagia Sophia was turned into a mosque today. No, it was turned into a mosque more than 600 years ago.
Yeah, but 1,000 years before that, it was a Christian
but cathedral. I mean, okay, where do we draw the line then?
Exactly, that's my point.
Where do we draw the line?
That's my point.
Again, listen, you have to understand that most, I would say, Sunni Muslims believe that the conquest of Istanbul is actually a hadith from Muhammad. Okay, that's number one. Number two, most Turks believe that the conquest of Istanbul, especially because of the religious value upon it that's placed upon it by the hadiths of Muhammad, that it's an importance of utmost has been ruled by Turks some 600 years ago. Hagia Sophia happens to be, on both sides, the most significant star of this conquest. And the fact that it is now, again, the mosque, again, is going to be utilized for prayer is driving them crazy.
No.
The fact that their hopes that Istanbul will once again be back in the hands of Christians is a hope that they try to keep it alive by closing Hagia Sophia to Muslim prayers. And today, the court decision in Turkey has paved the way for that. Whether President Erdogan will pursue the way to opening up to back in service for Muslim prayer is another question. We will have to wait to see. But the big roar coming from the West and Russia as well, because of its Orthodox roots, is the fact that the Western Christians, the Christians in especially Western Europe, still are hoping one day Istanbul, as unfortunately some of them still call as Constantinople, will be back in the hands of the Christians.
Right. In today's day and age, one just hopes that it was a message of unity. Now, can you...